everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast. We're going full announcer voice here. I'm fake. In a world where men do podcasts about things. And I'm Dan.
What about women?
That's not this world.
That's not what's going on here.
With the very occasional exception of a guest host here and there.
This is a mess of an intro.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming up on today's show.
Okay, good. Go on with it.
We're going to be talking about quackery.
Okay. Yes, that's true.
Full on quackery.
We're going to be talking about medicinal things or things that are presented as medicinal, and we'll be asking the question: Are these legitimate?
I have to say, Dan,
Yeah.
that thus far this has not sounded like our show one bit.
Good. We're changing it up.
Like I can normally like hear it. Right?
Yeah.
And then I'm not hearing it today.
That's okay.
Anyway,
We'll settle back in.
yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
fine.
It's been so long.
It's been a while since you and I
We're
recorded
out of
together.
our rhythm.
My microphone
We're both
smells like mustache.
We're both tuned into Mark.
Yeah, exactly. We're both like trying to guide each other through this process.
No, just let muscle memory go.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
We'll do it.
Well,
but
Dan,
yes, we will be talking about pseudoscience coming up.
I prefer quackery.
Okay, we'll be talking.
That's the word.
We'll be quacking later in the show.
No, all right. Anyway,
But for now, let's. Should we do some things?
sure.
Some stories. I got one.
Okay.
This one is not. This one's pertinent to our group of folks, to the non-believers of the world. You know, there are several atheist organizations out there. Not a lot, but there are a few, and some of the big ones.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's the Atheist, American Atheist. That's a pretty big one.
Oh, they're huge.
Two of the biggest, however, are now becoming one of the biggest.
So we have one fewer organization?
That's true.
No.
That's true. But
No.
we now have a one very large one.
A mega
org. The Center for Inquiry, which is a very large national organization, and Richard Dawkins' foundation, the Richard Dawkins Foundation, which is his foundation.
What is this thing going to be called?
It's still
The
gonna be-
Center for Richard Dawkins?
Yes, exactly. The Center of Richard Dawkins Inquiry is what it's going to be called. No, they're just going to keep Center for Inquiry. But they will now have, and I guess I should say that the full title of Mr. Dawkins' organization is the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science.
Just because of the name, it had to go.
Yeah, apparently. It was too much. It buckled under the weight of its own name.
The signage was unwieldy. Far too expensive. They spent so much on the neon signage.
Yeah. So it'll be CFI. However, they'll be using Dawkins's a person from Dawkins's organization as their new president.
Okay.
Which is a woman named Robin Blumner will be taking over.
All right.
Ron Lindsay, who has headed CFI since 2008, has now stepped down.
Okay.
So Ms. Blumner will be in charge, and hopefully all will go well. I spent time at the CFI Los Angeles office when I went out there for the reading of my teleplay that was that won their little contest there. And
what happened? Did you inquire? What did you inquire
There was
about?
a lot of inquiry happening. Everybody was always asking questions. I was like, geez, somebody make a statement around here, will you? But they seem
like
like
a horrible, just... Anyway,
they seem like lovely folks.
I was going to make a Jeopardy joke, and then it just...
They can't have Jeopardy there. Please phrase your answer in the form, or your question in the form of an answer or whatever, and then everybody just goes crazy and nobody knows what to do. So there you go. Yeah, we have now one very large org instead of 2 medium-sized ones.
Form of atheist org.
And mind you, very large in atheist terms. Pretty
means a collection of about 3 or 4 people.
Pretty cute. No, they've got let's see, what do they have? There was a figure that said how many employees. Looks like CFI has 41 employees currently.
Oh wow.
So
really?
Yeah. For an org, it's not small.
That's not small.
$5.2 million budget yearly.
Oh, really?
Dawkins Foundation will bring in an additional $1.3 million to $1.5 million.
Wow.
And 3 employees.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They're not messing around.
No. These folks,
like I said, that the CFILA, they have a bi-weekly meeting there. They've got a little theater that they meet in. That's really the Steve Allen Theater.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It's in Hollywood. I recommend, if you're in the LA area, go to their bi-weekly meeting. It's fun.
All right.
You might get to see my screenplay being read.
This according to so that was the theater.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
I heard you're in the market for a new car. That Toyota out front is in dire straits. No.
That Toyota will never die. Ever. But,
well,
for the sake of argument, yes, I'm totally looking for a new car.
You're totally looking for a new car. I heard this.
Yeah.
And, everybody who owns a Toyota looks at Fiats as their next car.
It's the natural progression.
Everybody loves... They just hate quality, right?
Yeah, right.
Quality and construction. Anyway, so there are 2 Fiat 500Ls that are going to be auctioned off this week in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Or, it's coming up. The 30th. When is the actual auction? The auction is January 29th.
Okay.
These are it won. One Fiat.
Okay.
I can't believe I screwed that up. There were 2 Fiat 500s that were used as Popemobiles while they were in this country.
What?
And they are auctioning one of them off as a fundraiser. So the Archdiocese of Philadelphia is the beneficiary of a donation from the... I think it's actually Chrysler Fiat who they were lending the 2 Fiat 500s to the Pope while he was in the country. Well, they've decided to donate them to the Archdiocese of Philadelphia as part of a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
Now, the 500L is not the big one.
Yeah, that's the big...
Is it?
Bulbous, ugly one.
Okay.
The L stands, I think, for... large.
For large.
Or lot of.
Oh, it is sad to me that they opted to go with just the word 500 as opposed to the Cinquecento, which would be, I guess, hard for Americans to say or something.
Yeah. Well, what I have a problem with is that they couldn't just come up with a different name rather than 500L, because there's nothing about this that's a Cinquecento. Right. The Cinquecento is the little tiny car that you do see driving around on American roads
now.
And I've seen a couple of the L's around, but it's just such a shame because the 500 is such a iconic little car. And so anyway, if you happen to be in the Philadelphia area
or you just want a
desperate need of a Popemobile. Yeah, I mean, but it's a pretty
I kind of want it.
Lackluster Popemobile. All its claim to fame is that the Pope rode in it.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to it. It was just a 500L.
That's enough.
Surrounded by giant SUVs.
Yeah.
Protecting it the whole time.
Yeah, but if you get the photos, you get some of those photos of the Pope in it, and you just sort of plaster the interior with photos of the Pope in your car. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I'm going to buy that Popemobile. Well, that's my Popemobile.
I guess if you believed in the Pope,
well, Well, I believe in the Pope. The Pope exists. I have
in the powers of the Pope.
Oh, right.
Then this would probably be your best bet for a fiat that might last.
Oh yeah,
and
that's true.
Decently.
You don't even need to put a little Saint Christopher in there to keep you safe because you got Pope power now. I don't care. I don't care if Car and Driver did give it a 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
That machine's gonna last forever.
Oh, I have to. Yeah, exactly. And well, at least until the second coming.
Meaning when the Pope comes next to the U.S. and then this fiat loses its power and another fiat gains.
I don't think we'll get another visit from the Pope. It's always such a big deal when a nation, any nation, gets a visit.
I don't know.
We'll
get a new president, and then he'll want to come and visit or something.
Oh,
we'll see.
Go pat Trump on
his fluffy little head. Well, there you go. Buy yourself a Popemobile. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Catholics,
the
New York Times did a really interesting article yesterday, I think, that I wanted to bring up. Here's the thing. So obviously, Ireland is no longer in the deep throes of the Catholic versus Protestant war that was raging for so long in Ireland.
No.
However, there's still a little bit of an issue with the Catholic Church controlling some of the schools there.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about primary schools here.
Okay.
Do you want to take a guess as to the percentage of primary schools that are under the control of the Catholic Church?
85%.
It is 97%.
Holy crap!
97% of state-funded primary schools are under church control.
Under the thumb of some evil Monsignor somewhere.
Right. Well, and you'd think, okay, so, this is the UK. This isn't, this is not the it's not the UK. It's Ireland. But this
depends on which part of
Northern Ireland
you're
Northern Ireland is part of the UK.
Yeah. This is the Republic.
I guess so. But this is Europe. We're not talking about like the most we're not talking about an egregious thing here, right? Even if Catholics control the schools, everybody has to get to go if it's public funded, right? Well, it turns out not necessarily. It turns out that it's still totally legal for the church to prefer Catholics over non-Catholics when it comes to acceptance into these schools.
Really?
So, yeah, so there's a story of Nicky Murphy, whose son Reuben was rejected by 9 local schools in South Dublin because he was not baptized.
What?
9 schools he couldn't get into. He was forced to delay his education by a year, waiting to see if they could get him into a school.
What?
Apparently, Miss Murphy is frantically looking for an alternative because she cannot find a school for her son.
Oh my God.
There's stories of Hindu people not being able to get into schools. It's becoming apparently a very large problem.
My God. What about the 3% of schools that are not Catholic? Do you have any information?
They're terrible. They're awful. The worst schools. They're garbage.
But come on.
Well, when 97%, it occurs to me that for most people, you don't even have access to one of those schools.
No, yeah, of course not. And nor should the system be established that everybody who happens to be somehow rejected by the Catholic schools has to go running and scurrying off to some other public school.
Yeah.
Publicly funded school, Because that's what you're saying, right? That's what you're saying is that it's not just that the schools are Catholic schools and that's what everybody sends their kids to.
No.
These are the public schools.
These are the public schools. And the word public school, I think, means something different in that part of the world.
Oh.
But this isn't just public school. These are state-funded primary schools.
Right. That's the key.
So,
which for an American, that's
public school.
a public school,
right? So, that's crazy. Like, if you can't afford to send your kid to a private school, which is probably also church-related.
Well, they probably don't have a parochial school system. Because they have
the state school system is parochial.
They've got Catholic schools.
Yeah.
They're the public schools.
Right. It's crazy.
Wow. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Go Ireland. Way to go, guys.
Find a nice madrasa somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Get your act together, people.
Why doesn't the Murphy child want to go to a madrasa?
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a nice Jewish school somewhere. Maybe.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Go. Yeah. Anyway. All right.
A yeshiva. That's a Jewish school, right?
That's the one.
That's what we were looking for. Is that a college?
I think that's more of a college, though.
I don't know.
I don't know. Chime in, Rabbi.
Rabbi Gruber, okay.
Please. All right. Dan.
Yeah.
It's back.
Oh, no. The rash?
Thanks. No. Another attempt to remove In God We Trust from U.S. currency.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It will fail again, but sure. Great.
Michael Newdow. Does that ring a bell?
No. Should I know that name?
He's the one who, do you remember the guy who argued before the Supreme Court?
Okay.
About prayer in schools.
Oh, okay.
Or no, the Pledge of Allegiance, removing under God from the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
Because his daughter was being forced to. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
It was out in California. He's like an emergency room doctor or something of the sort.
Okay.
He's at it again.
Good.
Like, he got his taste of arguing before the Supreme Court, and now he's just he's rabid for more.
He's an eager loser, is what he is. Unfortunately.
Well,
you think he's got a shot?
Well, what's interesting is that he's arguing under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, the exact same thing that Hobby Lobby found so much success with.
Yeah.
This go around, yeah, he might. I don't know. Of course, some people are saying no. Of course, he doesn't have a chance. Like Garrett Epps, a professor of law at the University of Baltimore.
Yeah.
Who writes about constitutional law for The Atlantic.
Sure.
He doesn't think that it's going to happen. He's quote mystified by the argument that In God We Trust is a burden on religious freedom.
Yeah.
Unless you've got your head in like. I think unless you're like truly like atheist and like not a believer, you can't really understand. Right?
Well, I mean, I think I mean,
in a way,
maybe a Jew or a Muslim could understand this position, just because even though they believe in a God,
right,
they're eminently aware that the God that's on the money is not their God.
Yeah, it doesn't say in Allah we trust.
Right, exactly. And if it is a
monotheistic claim.
Correct.
Right. It is in God we trust, not in gods we trust.
Right.
This is not, Battlestar Galactica.
Maybe we should just be. Maybe what we should be arguing for, because this is a phases sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So maybe what we should be asking for is just, how about instead of in God we trust, we don't have to take it off completely, but let's say in a God or some gods maybe we trust. It's just an inclusive thing. Maybe we trust in or some gods.
I don't know that that's really where we want to go.
You don't think that would sell?
No.
In Peoria?
Yeah. There's also a petition on the wethepeople.org or whatever, the whatever the White House's little page is, where you can get petitions,
right,
so that they actually have to address it in a press conference, that thing. Right?
Yeah.
There's a petition going on to substitute or to swap out, In God We Trust with E Pluribus Unum.
Right. Which would be great.
Yeah.
It was the original motto. It's a better motto.
Yeah.
It would be great.
What is it? Out of many one or something like that?
Out of the many one.
Right.
And I think that would be fantastic, except that the Trumpites of our country don't believe in that anymore. They don't believe in that melting pot unity sort of thing. They don't believe in the power of diversity.
What is it? E pluribus duum.
E pluribus pluribum or something. I don't know. Out of the many. Now you stay over there.
How do you say binary?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. I wish him luck. Of course I want that to happen. But if you've paid any attention to any ruling that this particular Supreme Court has made that has anything to do where Jesus gets involved in any way, you know where it's going to go.
Yeah, but I hate the fatalist attitude sometimes because it diffuses people's energy. It takes away your desire to put any effort into this. And I think this is something that we should be putting effort into.
I agree entirely.
I signed the damn petition.
Sure.
I don't sign petitions online.
Right.
Like, I hate all the email that comes afterward.
Right.
Right. And so I just stay away from them, even usually if it's a cause that I care about.
Sure.
But this is one that I was like, you know what? I kind of feel like I need to put my name on this.
Yeah, you know? I mean, I get it. I'm not trying to be fatalist.
A petition is like the least you can do.
Correct. Well, no, not a petition is the least you can do.
Well, if you are to do something,
if you're going to do anything,
right?
Petition's the bottom of that barrel. Here's my point. Here's my point. My point is that I don't think that nothing should be done, and I support the effort completely. Mm-hmm. However, I think battling in the courts when Scalia is still peddling his argle-bargle is fruitless. So I think it's a much better idea to wage this battle on a different front.
Yeah, but these are people. This guy he's litigious, right?
Sure.
Like, that's what he does. And he
will,
files lawsuits on issues.
And it will bring up a question, and somebody will have a discussion and stuff.
And there will be a dissent. Someone will write a dissent, you know? And
maybe.
They're hopefully, you know?
Yeah.
Hopefully someone writes a dissent. And, you know, there's value in that. Mm-hmm. That's a judicial opinion.
Sure.
If nothing else, right? I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of these things.
Right.
But
yes,
I don't know.
We'll be able to quote Ruth Bader Ginsburg on this point later or something.
Or a future justice will be able to quote Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Sure.
On it.
Yeah.
You know? They'll have some thought. They'll have some thinking already worked out for them. Not that these people lack in thinking.
I guess, but, like, you know what? You want to know what my actual objection to this is? Like, the thing that really will get to me about this is that it's just another moment where I get to watch the highest jurists in the land get something entirely wrong on purpose. Like, they will get it entirely wrong, and they will make fallacious arguments about it, and it hurts me every goddamn time that happens.
Still no reason not to do it.
Okay, fine.
So that Dan Beecher's little feelings don't get hurt?
No. I'm just saying, like, that'll happen. That's going to happen. But no, that's not the reason not to do it. The fact that you'll get ruled out for sure, like, there's no question that you'll be ruled against, that's maybe a reason not to do it. Maybe. Yeah. We'll see.
Supposedly, when this guy, I mean, he's not a lawyer, by the way, right?
No, right.
And he ends up arguing or stating his case, whatever, in front of the Supreme Court. And, like, observers of the court who were probably, like, you know, butts clenched before the guy started, before he opened his mouth.
Right.
Were like, he actually did a really good job. And the only thing that they had against him, or what the ruling was against him, was, what do you call it when you don't actually have grounds for
oh, yeah. Grounds.
I guess.
Isn't that it?
I guess. I don't know.
They said that he's standing. He didn't have standing.
He didn't have standing.
Okay.
In the case, because he didn't have custody, he didn't have custody of the kid.
Yeah.
That he was that he based.
They're good at squirreling away out of that stuff.
Total technicality.
Right.
You know, I mean, I probably shouldn't say technicality because you have to have standing.
Right.
Right. But
they could have.
They didn't do it on the argument. They did it on
not
the argument.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to move us along to a Cinderella story. Every woman's dream. I think is what I'm going to talk about. It's a new church in Taiwan They've just built it. It'll open next month.
Yeah.
A little wedding chapel sort of thing built by the government, built by the local province. Not really sure what the point is, but I wanted to. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you a picture of this church, and then you can react live, and everyone can hear your reaction, and then I will describe it. Isn't it beautiful?
Why? I don't get why that's a church. Is it a church to? I mean, I like it. It's consumerism based, clearly. It's based on shaped like a shoe.
It's okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Glass shoe.
Imagine a really ugly high-heeled shoe made of glass. It's blue. It's it's this blue high-heel shoe that you can get married in if you want to. Apparently, this says a lot about the Taiwanese and how they think this will, what the way that their minds are working. Here's a quote from Zhang Rongfeng, who is a government spokesman. There will be 100 female-oriented features in the church, like maple leaves, chairs for lovers, biscuits, and cake.
What?
It will be tailored to women, especially female tourists visiting the area. So I guess it's a tourist attraction.
But it's a chapel?
Yeah, it's a church.
Well,
it's
what? What kind of church? Like who blessed this edifice?
I don't know really.
Or is it just a wedding opportunity space? Like you can rent it out for your wedding if you so desire.
It won't be used for regular services, so yeah, I guess it's a sort
wedding
of
chapel.
Yeah, it's a wedding chapel, but it is religious in nature. They're clear about that. Pan Sui Ping, who is the administration, the recreation section manager, said, this is I guess a woman. She said, "In our planning, we want to make it a blissful, romantic avenue. Every girl imagines how they will look when they become a bride."
And this glass slipper fits everyone.
Yes, that's right, Cinderella.
There was no foot too large.
Stepsisters will not have to cut off any toes or heels to squeeze into this giant monstrosity of a church.
It's really bizarre.
You guys need to look this up. We'll post it on the website or on the Facebook page.
Very, very, very strange to me.
It's hideous. It's amazing.
Like it's really ugly and inexplicable. I don't understand the form of it.
No,
at all.
There's nothing about it that would be appealing. I can't imagine that. I don't know. I don't know Taiwanese people, so maybe this is awesome for Taiwanese. There was, however, a little bit of blowback on the social medias.
In Taiwan or internationally?
In Taiwan and China.
Oh, okay.
So, like, someone says, besides copying, what kind of standard does this church have? I'm not sure what that means. Somebody else said, why don't people say that it's objectifying women this time? I'm not really sure.
They're not dialed in on the issues here.
Not really. On Weibo, the Chinese version of Twitter, somebody said, what were the authorities thinking when they commissioned such a hideous-looking building in the area? It's just disrespectful. I don't know their culture well enough to understand what any of these comments mean.
I'm trying to parse them out.
At very least, we know that some people from that region of the world think that it's ugly too.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
That's about all we can know, really, at this point.
Yeah. So there you go.
Giants.
Who knows?
I mean, in sort of the if you build it, they will come approach to tourism, right? Where it's like just building weird shit so people will go out of their way to see it. Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't personally. Although, with 2 or 3 drinks in me, I might hop on a train and, giggle the whole way and, and be like, I can't believe I'm going to go see the giant shoe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I was in the region and I was just, you're looking around, there's not much else to do. Let's go to the shoe. What the hell?
But if
you're in if you're in Iowa or whatever, you go see the giant ball of twine.
Yeah, you do.
If you're in this part of Taiwan, apparently you go see the goddamn ugly shoe.
Yeah. Well, good. They've got a thing now.
Yeah.
They're known for something.
Indeed.
All right. Well, all right, Dan.
Uh-huh.
Time for the Saudi Arabia story.
Oh, dear. Okay.
It's not an issue that's terribly close to my heart because I don't play this game. But a top cleric in Saudi Arabia got on television and issued a fatwa forbidding chess.
Wait a minute.
And the headline on the New York Times is priceless. Saudi Arabia top cleric forbids chess, but players maneuver.
Oh, cute.
But clever headlines aside,
right?
No, yeah, this guy apparently it was a call-in show on Saudi television.
Okay,
and the Grand Mufti Sheikh Abdulaziz Al Sheikh said that the game was, quote, the work of Satan, like alcohol and gambling.
What?
This, of course, is completely ignoring the game's long history in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And the fact that chess is played across the Arab world. Nobody's really had objections to it before on these kind of grounds.
Yeah.
and apparently there's like an official, Saudi Chess Association that held 70 events in the kingdom last year.
Wow.
I think. And they're sort of confused by the fatwa. They've had a prince from the United Arab Emirates at one of their events. This is not a game that like they've traditionally been sort of vacillating back and forth on, right?
Is there an explanation for why?
Well, he's confused as to what the game is, I think.
Okay.
I don't think he knows what the game is because he this connection he's making a connection to gambling.
Yeah.
And his quote about gambling and why it's forbidden is amazing to me.
Oh, okay.
Because again, I think that it doesn't understand gambling either.
It doesn't apply.
It says it makes the rich man poor and makes the poor man rich. Which is not the case at all. Like gambling typically just makes poor people poorer.
So let me
the rich, it's just a game for the rich.
Right.
As long as you don't have like a real gambling problem, you're not going to become poor.
Let me walk down this road a little bit. I'm going to start at the beginning with chess and somehow that it's gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so no.
It's not.
Unless you bet on it.
You could bet on, like, the winner.
Yeah, but betting on the winner is...
how many moves.
That's betting. That's a different thing than chess. Right. But let's just say it is gambling.
Uh-huh.
On what planet does gambling... first of all, you're right. Gambling does not make the poor man rich and the rich man poor.
Right.
Never has. Except for Powerball, but we won't talk about that. Then...
But not the rich man poor.
Right, that's true.
Which seems offensive to him on some level.
Right. The question for me is, what the why would that be bad? Why is it not okay for the poor man to become rich or for the rich man to become poor?
Well, in a society with strict social, orders and whatnot, that's a problem.
I guess it's like a caste system or something there.
I'm not sure how caste-ish it is, but my guess is that, they have a king, for crying out loud. They have a royal family.
Right.
This is definitely a system that has a sense of these people are above you.
Know your place.
Right.
You paupers. And something tells me that this guy's not doing so bad. Something tells me that, like, financially, this guy would not be in the poor man getting rich category.
No. No. Oh my God. So anyway, I thought that was priceless, in fact.
Yeah, that's just cuckoo bananas. I'm not. Why? All right, pick on chess. Fine, asshole.
Now, of course, here's something I learned. Fatwa. How official is a fatwa?
It's not, right?
Not really official.
Just like if somebody says a thing that can, like if a grand muffin or whatever they're called says some words, it can be a fatwa.
Yeah, basically. Like if he it's a declaration, right?
Right.
It is akin to Pat Robertson.
Right.
Being a crazy man on TV.
That dude issues fatwas on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, there was something encouraging about this thing, which is they've got crazy people on their TV too.
Oh yeah.
That's just is that just how TV works? Oh. You get crazy folk on it.
Yeah.
And they say stupid shit.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Of course, that's how TV works.
Good. The Saudi Arabians, they're more like us than you would think.
Than we'd care to imagine. As a matter of fact, we'll be playing our Grand Mufti in just a moment. Literally just a moment. If you guys have anything you'd like to say to us about any of the things that you've heard so far, you can reach us. We're easy to reach. Just write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Indeed. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, where you can see a picture of a giant shoe.
And while you're on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge.
Yeah.
And request to join.
Yeah.
There's always a vibrant conversation going on.
We've had like 2 new members recently, both write in to the group and just say how much they're enjoying it so far.
Fantastic.
There you go.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so hey, let's play some of our own Grand Pufter. I don't know. I don't know what I want to make Grand Mufti into, but it's just such a cute little term. Maybe that's all it needs to be.
It's just a mufti.
A Grand Mufti.
Mufti. Oh, Mufti.
Oh, I'm going to start calling my wife Mufti. Hey, Mufti, come on. It'll be my little pet name for her. Yeah, Patty Boy. We'll get some Patty Robertson in here. He's going to tell us about the rock and roll.
This is Shannon, who says, hi, I'm 14, and I grew up listening to rock music. Recently, I've been obsessed with the rock band. Some of their songs have some strange lyrics. Now, my dad is telling me that I should second-guess listening to their music. I love Christian music, too, but I find myself not letting go of my rock music because that's what I was born listening to. So can I listen to both rock and Christian music? Please help.
It depends on what rock you're listening to. I mean, some of the stuff is just evil. They used to talk about kill your parents, and there were just some evil things, and they were odes to Satan. And so you don't want that stuff coming into your mind. There's some beat that's out there that, probably isn't all that bad, although in one Indian context, they were playing rock music, and the person said, why are you calling on the demons? Because that was the kind of music they used to summon demons. Mm. So anyhow, again, the evil in the world is so pervasive that we just need to stay in prayer, we need to stay in the Word of God, and we need to have fellowship with one another. But the truth is, if we don't have any relation with that, we'll have to go out of the world. And, it's just, Paul said, I've got to eat with people who are idolaters, and if I don't, then I'll have to leave the world. So, that's the way we live. So the Lord understands that. All right.
What the fuck is he saying?
You have to go out. How do you leave the world?
Well, I think, he's saying that's, I mean, you have no choice. This stuff's going to be around you.
Yeah. Because if you wanted to avoid it completely, you'd have to leave the world. I don't
die.
I don't know. I think what he's talking about is go and live in the wilderness,
right?
Forage for berries or whatnot.
I love berries. That could be really nice.
Yeah, but I guess that rock and roll music summons the demons.
See, it's a weird little mystical world that Pat Robertson lives in. Because, it's not just, the truth of Christ's message.
Right, yeah.
it's also the truth of satanic Indians.
Yeah, exactly.
Who call forth demons with something akin to rock music.
Yeah.
Like,
that's meaningful to him. Why would that mean anything to you, Pat Robertson?
To you? Like you're afraid of everything. Everything potentially is tapping into
something
demons
real
and shit.
Yeah.
And it's just so fucking weird and magical, and
I just love the fact that his view of rock and roll music is still the view of like a 1950s housewife. Like, he still sees it in that same, oh my God, look at that Elvis and his gyrating hips. It's clearly the work of Satan.
What I love is I can't like my brother and sister, who were a bit older than me, were listening to music back in the 80s that my parents abhorred.
Yes.
It like seriously was like nothing.
Yeah.
Like
bread. They're listening to Air Supply.
Yeah, basically. Right. And so it's like I've like, as an adult, like when I had that realization that, oh, this 80s music that is so fun and like
yeah, like it's so harmless.
It's completely harmless. That my parents seriously were just like, that's the devil's music. Like,
not more of that Peter Cetera.
And that they like seriously made me terrified of, right? Because I was still so young and impressionable at that point. And
oh my God, that's so funny.
Oh my God.
And you were probably so worried for your for your folks or rather for your siblings.
Yeah,
because they're gonna go to hell now.
Yeah, I mean, mainly it was my brother. I mean, my sister, it was less awful. It was just played loudly.
Oh,
you know,
right.
But anyhow.
Oh yeah, your brother probably listened to that Metallica or something.
Yeah.
That Twisted
Evil.
Sister.
Yes.
Twisted Sister. What's amazing? I went back and watched a bunch of like old hairband like music videos.
Yeah.
By today's standards, they're literally just the silliest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
And I was remembering, like, parents were terrified.
Oh yeah.
By these guys.
Oh yeah.
These are men with long hair and makeup on. They're saying the word evil right there in the song.
Who the fuck knows?
Oh
I mean, you know, like,
and now, like, you can't see it as anything but pure camp.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like
ridiculous.
You can't take it seriously at all. But then, and you know, of course, there's
it's out of touch parents,
right,
and it's kids who just like it because it's new and different and pissing off their parents.
Right, exactly, of course. And yeah, I mean, like, you look at the old punk scene of the 80s and maybe there was some violence in, to a lot of that.
It wasn't completely innocent, but at the same time.
But it's not like the music was the thing.
They weren't ripping apart society and tearing, like, although I don't know, maybe people who lived through the 60s, like, have a different idea of, like, how society can kind of get a little scary.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the hippies, you know.
Oh, the hippies. Well, I mean,
but I mean, let's face it, that actually is just a thought that just occurred to me.
Yeah.
That, like, my parents were, like, coming of age in a time when things were going nuts. Violence in the cities was on the rise.
Yeah.
There was war, there was all sorts of crap. And then they have kids and it's the 80s and some, like, normal teenage rebellion seems like, you know, the end of the fucking world. But anyway,
there you go. All right,
who can say?
Yeah, it's all very terrifying. Who can forget the satanic panic of the 80s? Anywho, we had some folks call into us over the week, so we thought we'd check in with that. Crystal wrote into us and said, I apparently have lopped off part of her email.
Dan.
Well, there you go. She said something about the lottery. She says, I've never purchased a ticket, but I think about winning it in order to fall asleep at night. Works like a dream. That's cute.
Just like a dream.
She said, recently I learned that in my great state of New Hampshire, 26% of every lottery ticket purchased goes to the funding the public funding goes to funding public school education. A weird method, sure, but since we don't have income or sales tax, the money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So now that I can reevaluate a risky purchase as a charitable donation, I have decided that for every week I succeed in a particular life goal, I'll buy a lottery ticket.
Or you could
be
just
a fun incentive.
Donate the whole amount to a charity of your choice that's working on these issues that you care about.
But that doesn't give you the chance of winning $1 billion.
Yeah.
For every time you buy that lottery ticket, you gain 0.0000001% chance of $1 billion.
Well, not every time you do, because it takes a number of things happening.
It's a very special event when it gets up to $1 billion.
You know, like, here's the deal. And this is what I said last week, which is that $2, if it's just entertainment.
Right.
That's great. That's cheap entertainment these days,
Sure.
right? Like, how much does it cost to go to the movies?
Yeah.
Right? And that lasts for 2 hours, right? Like, you get the entire time between buying that ticket and the time when you find out that you didn't win.
Right.
Right? To have a little fantasy.
Yeah.
Have a little, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And just the excitement, even.
Sure.
Right? Ooh, I can't wait.
Sure.
Anticipation is something that I think is lost a lot in adulthood. Right?
Okay.
Like, you don't really get to anticipate Christmas anymore.
Right.
Or your birthday. Like, who the fuck cares? Right?
Although this is like
going on a nice vacation, right? You get to anticipate it. There are things that you get to anticipate. But this going on vacation costs thousands of dollars.
Right.
This is $2.
Sure.
And you get to just...
As long as that's my philosophy on gambling in general. I mean, when I first started dating Andrea, she hated going to casinos and whatever. And I was like, we were driving back from somewhere, and I was like, let's just stop in at a casino. We'll just play at a penny slot for a little while. And she was like, I hate those. And I was like, wait a minute. Why are you playing?
Right.
She was like, well, I don't know. You always want to win something. And I was like, no. Never play to win.
Right.
If you're playing to win, you're not doing it right. You're actually, that is the road to pathology. That is the road to hurting yourself.
Right.
If you're playing to just entertain yourself, and, for me, the game is, how long can I sit at this machine? How many free drinks can I get?
Right.
While I play less than $20 or something like that.
Right.
And as long as you're there just for the entertainment value, then you're safe. Then you're okay. So I think that's a safe way to.
Or you could sit in a bar and
actually pay for drinks.
Use that $20 to buy probably the same amount of drinks, and maybe not the same amount of drinks because they water them down, but you'd actually get like full strength drinks. And so
I don't know. I think the casinos have a vested interest in you being drunk. They want you to get drunk.
They want you to be a little, but they don't want you toasty. Right?
Sure they do. They want you making bad decisions. They want you...
It doesn't take much alcohol to make bad decisions.
Yeah. Anyway, my friends all got drunk this last time we went to Vegas. Yeah. I'll say that. I even got a little buzzy. I was exciting. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I'm not saying you can't off the free drinks. I'm just saying you sit at a bar, put a tip down in a free pour state, you're going to get a nice drink.
Yeah. That's true. Free pour being a very in Utah
we love the concept.
In Utah, you're going to get the same amount of alcohol no matter where you go because it's all metered.
Yeah.
Anyway, another person wrote in calling themselves the.
Hello, the. Or maybe it's te.
It's tea. Yeah. I'm curious, writes the, as I notice a similarity in speech patterns amongst you all. I guess that means you, me, and Mark.
Must be.
If you are representative of a Utahian, it's Utahn, accent, or do you have an affectation born from group dynamics? The only other Utahn I'm familiar with is Senator Hatch. His is not all that dissimilar in speech pattern, but also old and whistles when he talks, so it's hard to pin down the accent. I've ridden through Utah many times, but I've never stayed. So, yes, I don't know, Frank, you're not a Utahn.
I'm not.
You're a
and I always
California, Oklahoma transplant.
Yeah, and I always hear subtle differences between how I speak and how Utahns speak.
Yeah,
but I've lived here for a long time, so it's very likely that I've also picked up a few things.
Yeah, I mean, I hear slight differences in how you talk to how Utahns speak.
I have an IE swap.
An substitution.
Yeah. So
it's fairly normal. I would say Mark and I have very typical Utah dialects. Salt Lake City dialects, sorry, because once you get into more rural Utah, it becomes very different.
Yeah, that's true.
Then you get some really interesting substitutions like pillow and milk.
Yeah, which is not part of mine.
Nor mine.
Yeah.
And, and I don't know how this is related to our show. I have no idea how this is related to our show.
He's clearly somebody who pays attention to language and speech, and he's curious as to, like, where ours comes from.
And it's a subject that I really like because, I had to study accents in acting school, and I had to study dialect and all of that sort of thing. And one of the first things you have to do if you're going to do someone else's dialect, if you're going to actually like study it instead of just sort of mimicking, is to know your own.
Oh yeah,
know what your mouth is doing.
Interesting. Yeah, no, mine. Yeah, you mentioned it, Northern California, which is I think where my particular brand of IE swap comes from.
Right.
I remember being taught in school when we were doing synonyms in grade school, or not synonyms, homonyms. Which of course are words that
sound the same,
but
mean something different,
but are yes, and often spelled differently.
Correct.
Right. And pin and pin were both on there.
So the thing that you use in sewing
is a pin,
and the thing that you write with
is a pin. Right,
and that was in school
as an example.
Oh my god!
So like she had done her own like lesson plan. The teacher had, right, and that was one of her examples. And like that is one that actually will still creep out from time to time.
Yeah,
I know that in
I've
my
heard
head,
you do that.
It's a pencil.
It's a pencil, right?
It's a pencil.
Not a pencil.
I believe that I have pen worked out. I say pen because people get confused because they didn't grow up somewhere where that's what it was.
Right. Where we
asked, can you pass the pen?
Right.
And it was seriously like if there had been a pin and a pen on the table, people would have been like, well, which one?
Right. Exactly.
Right. Which pin are you talking about?
Right. Knock down all those.
And there were other examples.
Yeah.
Bowling pins. Yeah.
Bowling pins. But you need to mark down how many bowling pins you've knocked down with your pin.
Well, no, they're bowling pens.
They're bowling pens, yes. It's a very strange swap that they do.
I don't know it's a bowling pin. It might actually be a bowling
It might
pen.
actually have swapped all the way.
Yeah.
It's a wackadoo thing, this dialect thing. I at one point went to 4 people from my acting school were accepted into a summer program in upstate New York. And one of them is from more rural Utah. Is from where was he from? Somewhere down
Panguitch.
Somewhere down south. It was somewhere in the
Hurricane.
Not that far south, in the middle of the state. Anyway, he at one point, so he and I both got called out for our dialects.
Okay.
He had a line that was something to do with, what was it? I remember mine distinctly. It was an older play, and I was meant to be chastising my child about his factoring. And the director kept saying, "It sounds like you're saying factory," because I was saying, this is one of the very subtle things about Utah. We say ing instead of ing.
Oh.
That's how much I had to learn.
Yeah, there's no G for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. I had een.
Yeah,
for you. Yeah, we say,
and sometimes because I think it's the Oklahoma, it's actually an in.
Oh,
like swimming.
Well, swimming, sure.
There's and I've heard it on the show when I've edited before. I've heard it. Like
it's
I'm
fine.
Completely unaware of it, and in fact, it's usually in moments when I'm playing a little bit more with speech. I've noticed where I'm being a little playful, and it just comes out as in at the end for whatever reason. And it's really strange to have basically 3 dialects that have influenced me heavily in my life. and to be sitting here.
Oh, I remember what the other guy's substitute, or what the other guy's dialectical issue was.
Yeah.
He was to say it was Shakespeare. And his line was something about, say that this is not your seal, not your invention.
Oh.
And he said sill. Say that this is not your sill, not your invention, which is a very Utah thing, a very rural Utah dialect thing to say.
Right.
Like, only in Utah is the word can the word FIELD be a homonym with FILLED. Feld. They're playing out in the field.
Right.
They're out, or the Mormons would say that their son is out in the mission field. That's a very Utah Mormon thing. Anyway, I'm glad
always fun.
Glad that we
Always
got to
fun.
talk about that.
Yeah.
I will say this. I'm going to get up on a little quick soapbox and just say there's no dialect that's wrong.
Yeah, isn't that?
And there's no dialect that's right. There's no correct American dialect.
Right.
There's no incorrect American dialect.
Right.
Dialects are all different, and you're supposed to have the one from where you're from.
Right.
That's how that works.
Unless you're a newscaster.
Right. Or an actor who's supposed to be able to do a standard American dialect.
Well, and shouldn't you be doing the dialect of where that character's supposed to be from?
Yeah, we've kind of abandoned standard American for just,
regional.
Yeah, I mean, if your character's from a space, when I was in college, it was a challenge for me. I played a character who was from the Mississippi Delta region, but had gone to school in where's Johns Hopkins, Baltimore. So I had studied both and was coming up with clever ways where I could sort of intersect them and stuff.
Okay.
But that was, now I'd be too lazy to do that as an actor. Now I just go with the Delta thing.
Right.
I had to study a lot to get that Mississippi Delta dialect. It's a very specific dialect. Anyway.
Okay.
Thanks for writing in, should we play the voicemail?
Let's do.
Hi, Frank and Dan. This is Jessica. A few episodes ago, a listener called in about wanting to thank healthcare staff for helping her nephew and how to do that. Well, I worked in a hospital. I'm a therapist and everything. And one thing that's actually meant a lot to me and some of my coworkers is when a family or someone actually just sends like a thank you card. Or sometimes people will put in a card with like a photo of the family that was helped. And that's a really small thing, but it's actually like really, really cool because you work with a lot of people, but everybody you see, they're really important. And that way you can kind of like look back and remember. And it's a really cool thing. I know personally I have, in my office, I have a wall of like cards and photos that people I've worked with have sent to me after they were discharged or for the holidays, and it's just a really cool thing. So that might be something to do, just send a card. It's a little thing that's really cool. Anyway, keep up the good work. Bye.
Thanks, Jessica.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Just send a damn card. Is it so hard?
Yeah. Remember to thank the staff.
Right.
Because a lot of people are thanking God instead.
First, thank Jesus, obviously. That's the first person to thank.
Send Jesus a card.
Right. However, if your person dies, blame Jesus also. Blame Jesus first and thank Jesus first, and then send a card to the hospital or sue them for malpractice, whichever
Depending
on how
what happened,
how things go.
Don't just sue.
No.
Wow, you're litigious today, Dan.
If they cure you, you probably shouldn't sue them for malpractice.
All right,
but
whatever.
There you go. We got one more thing that we had talked about. We've talked a few times recently about transgender issues, and someone wrote into us and said, "Hey guys, I really enjoyed the podcast, and your commentary is always interesting. However, the coverage lately about the transgender community has really struck a chord on a very personal level. From everything I've heard, it seems you both try your hardest to be accepting. It is for that reason that I decided to send this email, because you both seem thoughtful and you really want to be the best allies possible. The majority of your coverage has been awesome. One thing that struck me recently as ridiculous in your commentary was the idea that people who are not transgender will, quote, never understand it, but should accept transgender people regardless. Of course, I don't dispute the latter point, and overall, this sentiment is very good. People should absolutely be accepted even if you don't entirely understand them. However, this sentiment reminds me of the way gay people were viewed in the past. Growing up, I constantly heard well-meaning allies say, you'll never understand it, but you should accept them. The question left in my mind was always, what's there to understand? This person likes another person of the same sex. How is this difficult to understand? The same goes for the transgender community. Without meaning to, this kind of rhetoric marginalizes an already marginalized community. It puts the idea out there that this identity is so odd, so outside from the norm, that others can't possibly understand it. A lot of people accept that rhetoric because, I absolutely concede, it is far better than the dehumanization this community faces on a regular basis. But as skeptics, I challenge you to move beyond that kind of rhetoric. So that was from Logan. Thank you, Logan, for writing in.
Yeah.
I guess I get that.
Well, I'm trying to think back to what we said. Is that what we said?
I don't think we said you can't understand it.
Okay. I think it was probably more like you may not understand it.
Right.
But nonetheless, we may have said something along those lines. And I'm willing to cop to that because we're just talking extemporaneously.
And you and I are far too lazy to go back and actually listen to what we said. So let's just put this out there. Here's one thing that I will say. You may not be able to understand it. You still have to accept people.
Yeah.
If you can, you should attempt to understand it.
Right.
And you should seek resources and do some study to learn more and to try to understand.
Absolutely.
Everybody. Try to understand everybody. Try to understand Christians.
Right.
Try to understand. I mean, I think the whole gig of humanity is empathy and sympathy.
Right.
And you can't do that if you're not trying to understand where people are coming from.
Right. You'll find something sooner or later that makes it click for you, I think.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like eventually you'll just come around to the notion of, oh, I feel like my gender is male.
Right.
So if someone feels like their gender is female, that would feel different. Ta-da! I solved it. If you feel like you have a gender and you identify as that gender and it makes sense to you, then you get it.
Right.
You get all that you need to get.
Right.
Because the other person has exactly the same experience. It's just that their biology may not match.
Right. And that's probably the hardest part for people to fully understand.
Yeah. Obviously, it's not as simple as all that. But.
Right. But that idea that the person always felt female. Yeah. Let's say it's somebody who was born with male biology.
Right.
Or whatever. They always felt female. Right. So their body didn't match up with how they felt.
Yeah.
And that is a difficult thing to wrap your head around if you've never experienced that.
Yeah.
Right. But it's something that's worth pondering and taking some time and thinking about it, Yeah. So, and maybe reading, not just pondering.
Yeah. If you struggle with it, meditate on it, learn about it.
Yeah.
Get into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Easy enough.
All right. Well, so as an into our discussion that we're about to get into.
Right.
I wanted to do an update on a story that we did a year ago or something about a little girl, an 11-year-old girl named Michaela Salt. This is a little girl from Ontario, Canada. She's a First Nations child.
Ah, yes, I remember this story.
Whose parents did not want to give her chemo. She didn't want chemo. Her parents didn't want to give her chemo. She had a form of leukemia, that is treatable. It's a nasty treatment, but is very curable.
Right.
It's a tough time to go through. It's not pleasant at all.
Right.
But the prognosis, if you go through this chemo treatment, is very good.
Right.
She didn't want to do it. Her parents didn't want to make her do it. And the Ontario provincial government, I think, sort of helped her get out of the country and go to someplace in, I think, Florida.
Oh, right.
To do this alternative medicine practice that rather than the 12 weeks of chemotherapy, they sent her to somewhere where they would do some alternative medicines.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she has died.
Oh, God.
So this little girl finally has passed away after what I would call not being treated.
Yes.
But what her parents would call trying something different.
Yeah. Well, you want to try new things.
Well,
you want to be open to new experiences and different approaches, right?
Well, so many people are so closed-minded about this stuff, about all these alternative medicine things.
Terrible.
There's that whole quote about, if you open your mind too far, your brain will fall out.
Oh yeah,
I think that's the danger here. This has gotten us thinking. Well, this hasn't. We've just gotten thinking.
Yeah.
About pseudoscience in medicine, about all of these quote unquote alternative forms of medicine,
right?
And why we should or should not participate, pay attention to.
Yes.
You and I, Frank, have each chosen a couple of practices that are common in the world today.
Commonly, and one of mine is very commonly accepted. And so much so that I almost recently fell for it.
Oh.
Right? Because I hurt my back recently.
Yes, you did.
And
do you want to say how? I think you ought to.
Well, I don't know. Did I say on the show how I hurt my back?
I don't know. I tattled on you on the members only lounge.
I was sledding. Actually, there wasn't much sledding even that happened. I sledded.
You took a sled and you hurt yourself.
And I hurt myself. Promptly.
Because you and I are old. Because apparently once you turn 40, whatever age we just turned, everything goes to shit.
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
I honestly think that a 40-year-old in decent shape on a hill that with fresh snow probably and lots of it probably is going to fare okay.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't. What happened?
I wouldn't even think twice about sledding.
We had a 40-year-old who's in okay shape.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not like you're hitting the gym every week.
I don't. Yeah, no, nothing like that. But like, I'm in reasonable health. I have a job that keeps me on my feet, and so I'm trim.
Yeah.
I eat okay. Nonetheless, not in athletic shape.
Right.
And I hit a hill that was ice. With ice at the bottom.
Right.
And a big bump of ice that caused all the problem.
Okay.
So anyway, I hit that bump full on, coming down a big hill and jarred my back really nicely. In fact.
So what treatment do you seek when you hurt your back?
Well,
everyone will tell you.
Everyone tells you to go to the chiropractor.
Go see a chiropractor.
Everyone tells you.
Crack your bones.
To the point where, and I had sort of natural, instinctive resistance to it because, my dad would always go to the chiropractor. Right. And it always seemed like he always had to go back to the chiropractor. Right? Like he never, it wasn't like it seemed addictive in some way. Or perhaps not actually solving the problem, which as an adult looking back with a little bit of reason in his head, that's more likely the case.
Yeah.
He was getting some temporary pain relief in his back, which upon reading a little bit more is actually one of the things that chiropractic practice is mildly kind of sort of effective with.
Okay. So we're going to have to dive into the actual facts of this because we have a billion listeners who are getting mad at us right now because they love the chiropractor. They love chiropractor.
They love it. They've had a great experience with it. They feel great afterward. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about chiropractic practice.
Right.
It is something that was invented back in the 1895.
Okay.
By a man by the name of D.D. Palmer.
I think you're wrong. I think it was invented in ancient India.
I don't think it
all
was.
alternative medicine was invented in ancient India.
Any practitioners of chiropractic actually even say that.
Okay.
They love D.D. Palmer because on September 18th, 1895, he adjusted the spine of a deaf man who regained his hearing.
What? Miracles!
And then, based on that one case, he decided that all disease was due to misalignment of the back or subluxation, which I'm going to avoid from now on.
Yeah. Don't sublux yourself.
95% of subluxations to the spine and 5% to subluxations of other bones. So the rationale all hinges on this, right? 1, bones are out of place.
Okay.
2, bony displacements bony displacements cause nerve interference. And 3, manipulating the spine replaces the bones, removing the nerve interference and allowing innate to restore health. And what they mean by innate is a vitalistic life force. Okay.
The chi, if you will.
Chi, which we'll be talking about later.
Yeah.
In fact,
I'll bet a lot of chiropractors now use the term chi.
It's quite possible. Anywho, so apparently real subluxations, which are partial dislocations in the back, will show up on an x-ray.
Okay.
Right? So, and this is the kind of thing that a physical therapist could help you help address, or perhaps whatever, right?
Sure.
But a chiropractor, the stuff that he's looking for, the subluxations that they're concerned about, actually don't show up in x-ray evidence.
Oh.
So a chiropractor is going to see things in this x-ray that a medically trained doctor is not going to see.
Because magic. Can I just say, my one experience with a chiropractor, when I was
Did you go?
Well, I'll tell the story.
Oh, okay.
When I was in my early 20s,
Impressionable youth.
I was walking with my buddy through a mall, and it was like free chiropractic assessment sort of thing. And we looked at each other and we were like, okay. We walked in, and they had this bar that they would use, and they'd line up this one with this shoulder and this one with that shoulder, and and they'd line all these things up, and then they'd have you step away, and they'd show you how completely out of whack your body is.
Right.
Holy shit! Because everything looked all wonka, dude.
Out of alignment.
I was completely out of alignment.
Yeah.
Come in. We'll give you your first session with me, or your first something at my office is free.
Your adjustment. Yeah.
It wasn't an adjustment. Turns out.
Consultation.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I made the appointment. I went in. He starts pulling out charts of how the human body works that had literally, and I'm not trained in medicine, but I instantly knew none of this related to what we in the modern world know about the human body. Like, the systems were all different. The everything that he was showing me in these charts, and he's just stating it all as fact.
Right.
This part connects with this controls these things, and that does this and whatnot. And the more he talks, the more I'm like, wait. Because I had the same feeling, I had the same understanding of chiropractic that I think a lot of people have, which is this is just another sort of medical practice.
Yeah.
No, they've just made up a whole bunch of fake shit.
Yeah, and I actually want to talk about that perception.
Yes.
Right? So are you...
Yeah. That was my experience. I ran away screaming.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Probably didn't need to scream.
Arms,
but I was flailing and screaming.
Head.
It's just it just felt right. It just felt right.
No, there is a perception that it's legitimate, and it does not help that a lot of health insurance
covers
chiropractic.
Right.
Which is absurd.
It's bordering on criminal.
Yeah. There are actually now 2 states where the chiropractic lobby is so strong that they've convinced the state legislatures that they are the only profession in the state that should be allowed to adjust backs. What? Physical therapists in the state of California are barred from adjusting backs.
Jesus
Christ. A physical therapist will give you a little pop.
Right.
Right?
No, they won't. That's crazy.
I think it was California. Okay. I'm pretty sure it was California and somebody else, if I remember correctly. Nonetheless, that's not in the article that I'm using as my main guide.
Right.
That was in some other reading that I don't have right in front of me. But anyway, So anywho, yeah, the apparently up to half of patients report short-term adverse effects from manipulation, such as increased local or radiating pain. And there is a rare but devastating complication of neck manipulation. It can injure blah, blah, blah. Vertebrobasilar arteries and cause stroke, paralysis, and death.
Oh, my.
Some chiropractors do not accept the germ theory of disease. Okay?
Yeah.
Think about that one for people before you go back to your chiropractor. And only about a half of them support immunization.
Jesus Christ.
And many discourage proven treatments with drugs and surgery, and many want to take on the role of primary health care provider. There's a certain absurdity to the whole thing. As soon as because in my head, excuse me, in my head, it was what I saw when I would just kind of tag along with my dad. I was a little kid,
sure,
right, and they would do these little back adjustments. That's all I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was, the back's out of alignment, quote unquote.
Right.
And this guy's just popping his back. And I had no clue the amount of quackery that surrounds chiropractic medicine.
Now, none of this is to say that it couldn't make you feel good as you walk out of that office.
Oh, people, yeah. People swear by their chiropractors. So there is something that is beneficial, at least in the short term, for a lot of people.
Yeah, right? I mean, the truth is, so if you're getting madder and madder at us because you walk out of the chiropractic office every 2 weeks feeling great,
right?
That's not the point here.
Right.
The point here is that all of their claims, or the vast majority of their claims, are not based on science.
Right.
No one has proven it.
Right.
No one has studied it. There's no... Here's the thing, and this is what we're getting at. Maybe I should save this for the end, but I need to make sure that this idea gets out there.
Right.
The reason that modern medicine is superior in every way to all of these things is not that modern medicine has it all figured out.
Right.
It's not that modern medicine doesn't make mistakes.
Right.
It's that modern medicine treats itself scientifically, has to report its failures as well as its successes.
Right.
And there are people watching.
Right.
So, yes, there will be a mistake where, doctors will, the studies have been done, a drug is approved.
Right.
And then, 5 years down the line, they realize that there's a pattern forming that's negative.
Right.
And people are getting hurt by it, and they have to call it off, and they have to, there's a huge scandal and whatever. But that's so much better than all of the treatments that we are talking about today have no mechanism for reporting failure, for reporting injury, for reporting death.
Because they're not scientific.
They're not.
There's no process for coming to the truth of what that practice actually,
Every study that studies it is badly done, and generally not. We're not talking about peer-reviewed articles. We're not talking about studies that are done that have good double-blind methods. We're not talking about that.
Right.
So when they start pointing to studies, they're pointing to shit studies.
Right.
They're pointing to crap science.
Right.
And when they start pointing to, and then they rely on a shit ton of anecdotal evidence, quote unquote evidence. Well, anecdotes don't mean shit. I don't care if your grandmother had cancer and she went and saw a chiropractor and then she didn't have cancer anymore. That may well have happened. It doesn't prove anything about chiropractic.
Right.
And that's cancer. Or cancer. And that's what we're talking about here. I'm going to move us on to homeopathy.
Woo!
I was in the Whole Foods the other day.
Oh.
And they've got whole aisles of cures for everything that you could possibly have in the form of homeopathic remedies. For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept behind homeopathy, there's two main concepts that they tout. The first one is this sense of this, they call it the concept of similarity.
Right.
Like cures like is what they like to say.
Oh. Really?
Yes. And
That's an interesting concept.
Here's how this concept works. They say that if you take something that has a negative, a deleterious effect on your health in large doses. So let's say, you try something that makes you nauseous in a large dose. Well, if you try that in a very diluted dose, it has the opposite effect.
What?
So it cures nausea if you take it in a very diluted amount.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So that's apparently that's just a theory. They don't actually explain the mechanism behind how that works. They just say
sense, though.
They just make the claim.
But now that you've stated it, Dan, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, good.
Like I get that. I'm ready to have
The principle of similars.
So you're telling me that cheese, in the amounts which I eat it, upset my stomach.
If that's the case,
So I need a very small diluted amount of cheese
later
to settle my stomach.
when your stomach is upset for any reason, you need to go and but let me get to the second part of this, which is how diluted it needs to be.
Oh.
They have this scale called the C scale. C stands for 100 in this case.
Okay.
The Latin cento is 100. The C scale works like this. You take 1 drop of... we'll just go with cheese. We'll just make cheese our substance here.
Yeah, because I really need this issue addressed.
You take 1 drop of cheese and mix it with 100 drops... with 99 drops of water.
Okay.
So that's
That's a C.
one of the 100
That's a C
drops.
of cheese.
That's 1 C.
Okay.
If we take 1 drop of that 1 C solution,
Okay.
that 1 C cheese solution,
Okay.
and put that with 99 drops of water,
Okay.
that's 2 C.
That's a 2C solution. Okay. That's
Okay.
not very much cheese.
No, now we have very, very, very little cheese.
Okay.
Keep doing that
Okay.
until you get to 30 C. This has been diluted so
Dan, there's
far.
like virtually no cheese.
Let me tell you something.
I wouldn't be able to
Literally-
taste that nice,
You've lost all cheese to the point where
nice
when you run when you run the math and you do the whole Avogadro's number thing, there's literally almost 0% chance that there's even a single molecule of cheese left in your solution.
But there's a chance that there is.
Well, there's a very, very small chance that there is. But most of those little pills won't have even a single molecule of the substance that they're meant to have.
But
in
will
it.
that
at 30, and they go up to like 200 C sometimes. That's a 30 C.
Do they use water as the diluting?
That's the main and
agent
that's
or whatever?
important. And here's why. Okay. When you confront them about, hey, there's literally exactly 0 active element in this pill.
Right.
They say to you, right. Correct. And that's a good thing because water has memory.
Oh my! Make me throw up.
Water has this amazing quality of the molecules somehow form in a way that it remembers that it used to have cheese.
But at 200
next to
C,
it.
it could only barely remember ever being in contact with cheese.
It can't, but that's not the point. The point is water remembers, and it tells the rest of the water.
All of it remembers.
It tells all the rest of
everything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's why you can't. You shouldn't ever drink any water
It's
that's
the
touched
elephant
anything.
of substances.
It's the most amazing of all the
It
substances.
remembers everything.
So anyway, homeopathy basically tells you. So those are the 2 principles at hand. Basically, what we're learning is that if you take homeopathic remedies,
You're taking
what you're doing is treating yourself with nothing. You're taking a thing that couldn't possibly have the effect that it's meant to have,
Right.
because that's not how the universe works.
You're treating yourself with placebo.
You're treating yourself with placebo. It is entirely placebo. And there's been, every study, there was a report that was done by the National Health and Medical Research Council in Australia
Right.
that reviewed hundreds of published studies testing the effectiveness of homeopathy and homeopathic treatments and found no reliable evidence that any of them worked. So because of course it doesn't work, because you're taking nothing and you're treating your stuff with nothing.
Well, I'm wow. Okay, good.
It's literally the stupidest thing that anyone could possibly do, and everybody's falling for it, and Whole Foods is making $1 billion. Okay,
Dan. We need to go into homeopathy.
I know. I know. We need to go into all of these things.
We really need to sell water to gullible people.
Yeah.
Like
this is brilliant.
It's amazing.
It's genius. And here's the other thing. You know, if you look into nutraceuticals, if you look into any of these things, then the other thing is that there's no government agency watching any of this.
Yeah.
Literally, these supplement companies don't have to put any of the substance into the thing.
This is better than my idea of opening a psychic account on Etsy. Yeah. Because that's already, but you got to put in a little bit of work. You have to develop a personality or, like a character.
A persona, yeah.
Persona, thank you.
Yeah.
You have to actually respond to emails and shit.
In this case,
I was sitting there going, how do I feel about that? Would I be okay just taking money from highly gullible people? This, however, requires next to no work. You just got to get pills and put water in them.
I'm just going to send Pez out.
Yes.
As the fucking treatment for everything.
Probably better.
Pez,
a little bit of sugar, so you actually get a little bit of a little
this is
sugar, a little spike.
And what you do, as long as you don't use the word cure,
right?
This is for treatment of the flu. It's red Pez. You don't use blue Pez for flu.
Never.
Use blue Pez for your cancer.
Does the dispenser matter?
Yes, of course it matters. Obviously. You want to, if you really want to treat your flu, you put your red Pez into your Chewbacca dispenser.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
that's the one that you do in lieu of gargling, right?
You took my joke. I was on the way to the sound. I was on the way to the sound. You got to it first.
Wait, is that salt water you're gargling with?
No, it's Pez. It's for my flu. Anyway, what's your next thing?
Okay, well, my next thing is acupuncture.
Ooh.
Acupuncture.
It's the most accurate of all of the punctures.
All the puncturing that one could do.
Of every type of puncture, that's the accuratest.
Yes. And so therefore, the best.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Based in traditional Chinese medicine.
Deeply rooted.
This is a very old
practice.
Ancient.
As long as you can use the term ancient, it must be good.
As we know from the TV ads from the 80s about laundry detergent.
Ancient Chinese secret, huh?
Oh, God, how terrible. Anyway, so acupuncture, benefits from this weird prejudice in the West that we have for ancient Eastern things and thought that it's somehow the ancients, that these people from thousands of years ago were tapped into something that modern science just cannot understand.
Well, we've just abandoned it. There's just so much wisdom in the East that we've just turned our backs on.
Yeah.
The East.
This we mentioned it earlier. The acupuncture is based on the idea of qi, which is like a life force or an energy that flows through the body type thing. Right?
Yes, and obviously it's true because they claim it is. That there's qi.
Because anciently they understood this.
Right.
Clearly. Right?
Doy.
So the energy flows through pathways in the body that are known as meridians.
Oh, okay. As you do.
There are so illness happens when the qi is flowing or is blocked in specific meridians.
Sure.
Right. And so there are two types of qi. Guess what they are?
Cheddar and these are the cheese, right? We're talking about cheese?
Yin and yang.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry. And they can be out of balance. Mm-hmm. You know, of course.
You get too much yin. Where's your yang going?
Yang? Yeah.
Where's that? Where is it? It's all over the place.
It's a fucking disaster.
You're a mess.
Your meridians are fucked.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
So acupuncture, as we alluded to, being a very accurate puncture, right? They take little thin needles, and they have these sort of points on the body that are they coincide with points at which meridians cross, right? That helps to improve the flow of qi and the balance between yin and yang.
Right.
Right.
By sticking a needle in you.
By sticking a needle in you.
In your skin. And if you're lucky, you will find an acupuncturist who uses all new needles. No, because plenty of them don't.
What?
Plenty of them wash their needles.
Ew.
So if you're lucky, you'll find one who uses all new needles and who actually like swabs you down with alcohol beforehand because you're piercing the skin.
Here's the deal, Dan.
Yeah.
I reject that practice of acupuncture because that is clearly a modern.
That's right. That's using modern medicine.
No. I want the purest, most ancient, most germ-ridden needles.
There are no germs in ancient China.
Puncturing my body at these crossing points where the meridians cross.
Let me tell you something. If your meridians are opened up, there's not a thing in the world a germ can do to you, except give you a staph infection.
Maybe. Depends on which meridian, probably.
Yeah.
And how quickly the yin and the yang, get back into balance.
Sure. You could require several treatments, at which point, who knows what will become of you and your staph infection.
Apparently, some acupuncture practice now has adopted some sort of modern modification.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of electrified acupuncture?
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're adjusting the chi, you want
electricity.
You want to juice it, baby. Juice it.
It's far more effective. Mm-hmm. So they use electrical stimulation through the acupuncture needles.
Yes.
Right. The article says, this is not acupuncture. It is transcutaneous electrical stimulation, which is an accepted treatment for chronic pain, masquerading as acupuncture.
So this is acupuncturists doing a treatment that
modern medicine
developed.
Right.
And being like, look, it works. Ta-da! Here's the thing. The reason that I brought up the whole, swabbing you down and everything is that people have died from staph infections due to acupuncture. People, you can get infected if you're not careful with it.
No, Dan.
Okay. It is true that when you don't have
their yang was far too strong for the yin.
That's true.
It was just...
That's what it was. They were going to die anyway.
There was really nothing that acupuncturists could have done.
No.
Aside from using new needles.
Aside from not stabbing them.
Aside from not practicing acupuncture.
Right. Here's the other thing. I've heard a lot of people talk about how this actually does relieve pain for them. And I can see that.
There is a concept out there where a little bit of pain of one kind distracts your nervous system from the other pain that you're experiencing.
Sure.
And so I forget what that's called. This article, I don't remember where it's at in it, actually talks about that.
Sure.
And is like, once again, this is a claim that acupuncture as a traditional Chinese medical practice never made. Right? Oh. This is just something that has come out of it. The claim is the pin goes in your body and realigns the flow.
Right.
So you have to hold it to what its claim is.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is that what I'm getting at is
the needle distracts your nervous system for a second.
Right. Well, what I'm getting at is there is a way
counter irritation
that this is helping people. So like you go to the guy, you feel like you're in pain.
Right.
He bonks a couple needles into you, and then you don't feel like you're in pain, and suddenly you're like, yes, acupuncture works.
Right.
But then you go, but the problem is that people buy into the chi thing, the meridians thing, and all of the stuff that goes with it, all of the explanations that are from a time when they couldn't possibly know what's actually happening inside of your body.
No. It was a theory, right? It was a philosophy.
Right. It was this really dumb hypothesis that they came up with when they found out that if you poke needles into somebody who's in pain, sometimes they're not in pain anymore.
Right.
So anyway, I think that's what happens a lot.
Right.
Is that something has a small temporary effect.
Right.
That is unstudied and unproven and they don't know what it is. And they build this narrative around it of what it's doing and how it works and all these things that they don't have any basis for other than they're just guessing. Like they're just pulling it out of the thin air.
It did one little thing and now it does everything.
Now I'll fix all the world.
Right.
I will fix all the world by poking you with needles.
Right.
That's the whole thing. So there's a lot of people. The thing that I love is when people talk about big pharma, they're just in it for the money. Big medicine, they're just in it for the money. All these hospitals, they're just in it. They're just trying to make money.
No vitamin manufacturer is in it for the money.
No.
Not one.
There's not a single supplement manufacturing company. You know what? There's no chiropractor in the world who wants to make money.
None.
They have to feed their family. And it doesn't work if you don't charge people because they need to feel that they need to it needs to cost them something for it to work.
Yeah,
but they're not
buy-in, really.
They're not in it for the money, you guys. None of these other companies are trying to get money out of you. So don't worry. There's no danger with alternative medicine.
Yeah.
I guess I'll leave with the sentiment. I didn't make this up, but I saw it online somewhere. I don't remember who said it. Some comedian, maybe. Maybe it was Tim Minchin. I'm going to credit Tim Minchin.
All right.
Who said, "Do you know what they call alternative medicine that's been proven to work? Medicine. That's the answer, kids. If it's been proven to work,
then it's medicine.
Then your doctor can use it.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to go near alternative medicine.
No.
Alternative science.
Alternative music is fine. Alternative does not. There's only one way that science works, and that's science.
Yeah. No, I prefer alternative science. I'm rebelling against science.
That doesn't work. There's no such thing.
Nope.
It's not
Pretty
science.
Sure. Pretty sure.
Nope. All right, kids. Well, when all of you want to rail on us for attacking your alternative practice of choice, here's how you do it. You write into us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Yeah, tell us which ones are real.
Yeah.
You can call...
prove it to us.
And leave a voicemail message at 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and berate Mackenzie about her alternative practices.
And while you're on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge.
Yes.
And request to join.
Yep.
Dan might let you in.
I might at some point. So thanks for listening, everybody. We want to thank the Red Hot Rock Club, or the Red Rock Hot Club, whatever,
there you go. Yeah.
for the use of their fine music.
And Mackenzie.
Yeah, thank her.
Yeah,
she's
thank you,
amazing.
Mackenzie. You do so much for us.
She's been going above and beyond.
Thank you very
much. She's a delight.
And thank you, dear listener, for listening.
Yeah. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.